Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, it's been an eventful few days since we last spoke. The last video I did, I was looking forward to going to Liverpool Comic-Con 2024 to meet the Hobbits. And now, I've been to Liverpool Comic-Con 2024 and I've met the Hobbits and it was great. But I couldn't be put back on it at the time because other stuff happened. Yes, real life stuff got in the way. Hospitals and, strife. But enough about that. Now, I didn't go on the Saturday, I went on the Sunday, but my son and Mrs. Kilt-Man, his mother, went on the Saturday and did loads and loved the whole thing. It was great. And I was going on the Sunday, again with my son, because he booked us to go and meet Merry, Pippin, Sam and Frodo, which we did. Wonderful stuff. Now, the thing about that is, Comic-Con, it's bloody huge, folks. This one is reputed to be the biggest one in the UK. Bigger than London, bigger than Glasgow, bigger than Birmingham, bigger than Manchester. The Liverpool one, it covers lots of different halls. It is massive. I've been there before, but it was just one hall. This just seemed to be, this was like the entirety of Middle Earth, spread out, a big panoply on one side of the Mersey. It was huge. So when we get there, there's certain times when you can meet the Hobbits. Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, Elijah Wood, the other guy, Sean Astin, and the queue was already forming there. And they do 2 slots during the day. Then they do all the, they do a forum, a Q&A session, and they sit there and do autographs and all that kind of caper. As do many of the other celebrities who were there. But our queue, there it was. Zigzag, 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 10,000 strong. More than the Uruk-hai that Saruman mounts against Helm's Deep. And we joined the queue. And my son said, oh, go by in the blink of an eye, it will. The blink of Sauron's eye. And I thought, that's not going to happen. So I said, look, tell you what, you keep our spec and I'll go for a little wander around. And I remember saying in the last video, what was I going to go as? Was I going to go in costume? I've been Snake Plissken so many times. I've been Macready, not just for Comic-Con, but other festivals and conventions. Snake Plissken, Macready, Mad Max, Conan the Barbarian, Bane. Been a lot of different things. And I thought, what am I going to get dressed up as? I couldn't be bothered. So in the end, I just went as is. I wore the Hunting Stewart kilt with the matching over-shoulder plaid fly with a great big ruby brooch on it, a medieval belt, and a big pair of moccasin medieval boots, knee-length boots. I look great, I thought. But I just go like, I could wear that any day of the week. That's nothing special to me. But of course, when you're there, people are going, it's Braveheart. And I'm like, oh, it's Highlander. Oh, yeah. But I'm asking for it, aren't I? So I walked around and couldn't get a drink for love nor money. They shut all the bars. And there was a place there that was selling sparkling mead. Yeah? I thought, I need a drink. I've got to, you know what I'm like, pure alcoholic. Need a drink. Got one here. Got no whiskey left, so I'm drinking the wife's exotic lager again. Cheers, you all. And there was a stall, and a big Viking bearded fella with braided hair, and he was going, you want to try some of this? And I went, okay, yeah. They had a big ice bucket with these bottles of mead. I said, how strong is it? He said, it's 5%. I said, okay, yeah. Do you want to try some? I said, yeah, go on then, I'll try some. One of them little paper cup things, like that. Yeah, that was all right. It was definitely different than mead normally tastes. It was kind of sparkling, a bit more bite to it. And I went, yeah. I said, suddenly thinking, can I open the bottle if I buy one? He said, oh no, you can't do that. No. I said, forget it then. There's no point. The deal is off. Forget it. So I kept on walking round. And of course, in there, the signal doesn't work on your phone unless you've got the Wi-Fi switched on properly, which I obviously didn't, because my son's trying to phone me to tell me the queue's moving. And I'm just ambling along in the throng of millions of people, lots of anime and, all them manga costumes, a lot of stormtroopers, and Uruk-hai were there, and Moria orcs, pretty good costumes as well. And so you walking around, taking in the scenery, and then I just ambled back and discovered that, where's my son gone? And the queue, which was now 3 miles longer than it was before, holy shit, where is he? And he'd already got into the actual sort of auditorium where you're getting closer to the Hobbits. And he's like waving to me like, oh God, Dad, you've got to get a token. And I'm like, oh God, how am I going to get round the railings and get to you and get to... He said, speak to the girl. These sort of like, the staff, and I thought, oh, they're not going to let me through, are they? Like, they could say, oh yeah, like your son's over there. But I said that, and he's waving. And she just goes, go on then, go through. So I had to cut through everybody and wind my way there. People weren't very happy, But I'm trying to put a jaunty spin on things. Hi-ho, and all this kind of shit. And he gets there, and in his backpack, he's got the elven cloak for me to put on. Now, you've seen me do a video on that before, and it's a great bit of kit with the Lothlorien leaf clasp on it. Does look great. But I thought, I'm already massively overdressed because I had this tartan plaid fly, and beneath that was a leather gilet, which was made bespoke for me in Lincoln green leather, which I've done it on videos before, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's sleeveless, and it's tied up with like lace. That looks great, and it's nicely tailored and shaped, and it looks like something out of Robin Hood or even Lord of the Rings. So he said, go put it on, and this queue's moving at an alarming rate. Why is that? Even though you've paid a hell of a lot to see these guys, you'll be lucky if you get more than 30 seconds. We got about a minute, and people go in on their own, and they're positioned. There's a whole army of staff there, and there's the guys themselves. There's the actors, the hobbits, lined up, and right, go in the middle, and like, quick, smile, photo's done. On your way, that's it. You're like, you're kidding. So you could get the cape on, the cloak. So, oh God, getting this on. The hood's all over the show. The clasp wasn't right. Finally got it sorted, and we got in there, and they're going like, is it one or two? And he said, it's the two of us. Right, get in the middle then. And he'd already said he wanted to go by Elijah Wood, Frodo, because he had the one ring with him. I'm sure he wasn't the only one carrying a one ring that day. And I said, I want to get that on the picture. So he gets in first, I get in next, and I'm next to Mary. But they did acknowledge it. It wasn't a case like, oh, they're just conveyor belts. They're all super like hyped up, and they're giving it loads. They're all like, they're fist pumping, they're shaking your hand, and they do speak to you, and it was great. And I fist pumped with Sean Astin, shaking hands with Elijah Wood, and Billy Boyd saw all the tartan, and of course Billy Boyd is from Glasgow, so he was like, oh, like that, brother, and another fist pump, and we shook hands, and it was great, and you could see he was beaming with it because he enjoyed it. And we got not one, you only need to get one picture, we got 2 pictures with them, 2, and they are slightly different. I'm going to show you them now. I'll have to angle this just right so that the ring light doesn't warp it all out. I'll come closer, if you don't mind. Here we go. Oh, and perfectly we're playing some Hobbit music. I know that the ring lights do. I'll tell you what, I'll turn the ring light off. You should still be able to see it. There we all are. Look, there's my son there, beaming quite happily. Elijah, Sean, Dominic, Billy Boyd. He always pulls mad faces. And there's yours truly there with the cloak. You probably can't see that too well now, but there we go. And there is a slight variance because we were lucky enough to get 2 pictures. We don't know how we managed that, but we did. There we are again. Slightly different again. Can you see? And even though it's what? A minute tops. I'll put that back on. There is another picture to show you. A minute tops. You did feel like, oh yeah, we did meet them. It wasn't like you sat down and talked with them and shook hands and like, well, we did shake hands, but you didn't get to ask them any questions. I think I did say something daft like, have you got any elven bread or elvish bread or something like that. Oh, I've seen you guys before. You've been there and back again, haven't you? Some shit like that. But you blurt just rubbish out, don't you? Because if you stand there in the queue and you start preparing a line or a question you're going to ask them, and you think they've never heard this before, of course they have. And then just before you open your mouth to speak, you're going to go, and it just comes out as gobbledygook anyway. So it doesn't really matter. They must think the entire world is full of monosyllabic mumbling retards, because that's all they ever meet. Basically, Orakai. But it was great. And we went out afterwards and we saw they came out of their tented marquee area with their entourage, and they are laughing and joking and skipping, and they were like hobbits. And you had Sam and Frodo together, and you had Merry and Pippin together, and they were like sort of dancing around. And that, I mean, listen to this. That's exactly, this music is what they evoked, just with their playful antics and just being themselves. And they're not young guys now. I mean, Billy Boyd, I think, is actually older than me. I think. Or he's all, let's just say we're the same age. And it was also nice to see that there were some people actually smaller than me. I mean, as you can tell in the picture, my son's actually quite tall. But I use the term my son. I'm not entirely sure he is, because he is tall. And the rest of his family are not tall at all. Not tall at all! Dear God. What's in this stuff? So, that was great. And we watched them go off and all that. And then we walked around. We saw a lot of the big props there. There's X-Wings there. There's, oh God. There's the Robocop's car, the Detroit Police Department car. The Ghostbusters mobile is there, you know. And loads of other stuff. But tons and tons and tons of stalls. And some stormtroopers, one of whom was wearing a kilt. And we're on the escalator, and I said, I didn't know the Empire had Mackenzie's, because he had a Mackenzie tartan on. I just turned around and he went, oh, how do you do? And then I went, oh, by the way, because I still had that bloody cloak on, like, and he went, oh, nice one, brother. You know, so tartan went down well. Now, as the day wore on, I was getting more and more desperate to get off, because once you've been through crowds and you've queued up, I still didn't believe that the queues for anything later would move at such an alarming rate. But apparently they did, because Luke stayed on there and he went and met Orlando Bloom, Legolas, Will Turner. And he hadn't booked that, but he was lucky enough to be able to, look, can I get in to meet him? And he went, yeah, just pay now. And he got a good deal on it and got in the queue. And the queue, again, a hell of a pace. And he got there, and Orlando Bloom spoke to him. And, well, if you look at the picture here, you see how much he's beaming on this. And that's just Orlando Bloom. But look at that. And he said, because Luke was saying, look, I can see people go before me, and he'd just stand there and smile, but he wouldn't say anything. But he actually spoke to Luke and asked him how he was doing and all that. So that this is, you know, what grown men are like when they meet their heroes. A shit-eating grin. So it was a good day. There was a Jaws stall there, which was it was a puppet show, and it lasts 20 minutes. It's Jaws told in 20 minutes with puppets, and they've got the music playing, and all the quotes are there. You're gonna need a bigger boat. So whoop, they get a bigger boat. Clever stuff, fun and games. So it was a great Middle-earthian, Lord of the Ringsian day. But you guys know what happened on that day. On that Sunday, we also got the news that Bernard Hill, who was meant to be there, Bernard Hill, King Theoden, was meant to be there as well. So was Miranda Otto, but she cancelled. But a few days before, the fabulous actor, Bernard Hill, cancelled. And we got the news about 3 o'clock in the afternoon that Bernard Hill had died, aged 79. Oh, Jesus. Well, of course, his cohorts, the Hobbits, had to break the news to the crowd and say they'd lost a family member and a beautiful, wild, outrageous character that he was. Gruff, brusque but fun and beautiful, and they've lost a family member. But that is horribly cruel when you think about it. I mean, I don't know if Bennett Hill had been to any other Comic-Cons before. I don't think he had done. I don't think he was particularly a darling of the convention circuit. The likes of Sean Bean will never do it. If you've ever seen Sean Bean being interviewed, he's a mumbling buffoon. I love Sean Bean. I think he's one of my favourite actors, but he can't give an interview. He just can't. You wonder how he ever passed an audition, because he's just so stuttering, stammering. He looks the other way. He's clearly painfully shy. A lot of actors are, which is really bizarre. But you put the camera on him. Sorry, they hide behind a persona. They hide behind a character, and that's how they live and breathe. But once the camera stops turning, they just want to go back to the trailer and drink coffee and maybe smoke marijuana. I don't know. But they aren't the way you perceive them, full of character and life and verve. But Bennett Hill had cancelled a few days before. Now, I didn't know his personal situation until now, and he'd been married for many, many years to an American actress called Marianna Hill, and he had a son together, but they got divorced after many years. Now, apparently, I mean, I don't know the full story behind this. Apparently, Bennett Hill was engaged to someone else, and this other partner had fallen ill. That's what I've heard, and that's why he cancelled. And then, oh my God, he dies. He had a daughter as well, again from another relationship, and I think the son and daughter were with him when he passed away. But what a shock. 79. I have done so many tributes and obituaries to actors and celebrities in the last sort of 12 months, maybe a bit longer, and they've all died in their mid to late 70s. It seems like no one's getting past that zone, which is kind of scary. But I want to devote the rest of this as a tribute to Bennett Hill, because he was a fabulous actor. Everyone thinks, oh, Liverpool, he was Yosser Hughes. He was born in Blackley in Manchester. He had to try to disguise his Mancunian accent with a bit of Scousisms when he was doing Alan Bleasedale's The Blackstuff, and then most famously of all, the Boys From The Blackstuff. See, a lot of Americans might not know him from that show. They probably do. It's a huge event drama. It's captured an era, unemployment, strife, marital and financial, economic, political strife and turmoil in late 70s, early 80s Britain, especially with the northwest England, obviously Merseyside, and unemployment being rife. And everyone says that it captures the era of Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher. Well, actually, it was written before all that, but it did fit what she brought in. But playing Yosser Hughes, my good friend and young protege here, Mr. Kentucky Fudge, has deliberately grown a Yosser Hughes moustache for it. And it's worth remembering that in the first drama that Bleasedale wrote, which is The Blackstuff, Yosser Hughes, he's one of the leaders of a gang of tarmackers, all Scousers, who get a job further out, and they run afoul of dodgy dealing and gypsies who rip them off. And even though they've begun to lay some of the tarmac, that's what the black stuff is, the tarmac Adam, and they get ripped off, and it's the death knell for this group of men. They were banking everything on this, and they've lost their money. They're going to lose their jobs. They're going to lose their everything. They're going to lose their families because of being ripped off. And Yosser goes, he's totally on the level up until this point when everything has gone wrong. And then he drives after these gypsies to try and get the money back. But the van breaks down, and he collapses, and he gets a pickaxe out, and he just rips up the tarmac, which they've already laid, further destroying any chances of ever getting paid. But the drama was it was a TV movie really. It was such a powerful heavy hitter that, you know, smashed home to so many people that Bleasedale thought, look, these characters, they've become indelible. People want to know what happened to them next. So he wrote the multiple award-winning Boys From The Blackstuff, and each of the characters would have their story, but they'd all be in each episode. There was tragedy, there was drama, there was really gut-wrenching social upheaval and kitchen sink dramatics. But it was funny as hell at the same time. And the clever thing about it, you know, Bleasedale has amazing writing and these performances to die for from all across the board. They could, like a fist, they could caress your heart, they could tickle your ribs, but also crush your soul in the same sequence. Funerals, deaths, fighting, drinking, gambling, setups with the snoops who are after it, because obviously they're all all unemployed, and they're working on the side, but the social services snoops are always trying to find them and suss them out, and so it's us against them entirely. But Yosser's story, Yosser's in it throughout. Bennett Hill plays Yosser Hughes, and he still looks pretty much the same, except he's more zombified. He's lost his wife, but he's got the kids. The kids are in tow, and the kids are all played by Alan Bleasedale's kids. By the way, I'm going to come off, this was Fellowship of the Ring, but I did a little musical tribute to Bennett Hill. So there's a few tracks here from stuff he's been in, which we're going to talk more about that. But Yosser, he's got Bleasedale's kids in tow playing his kids, and he follows him everywhere he goes. He's got his big black donkey jacket on, and he strides around. He's got his sort of like lazy flat top of jet black hair. He's got a smudgy black moustache. His eyes are sunken in. He's cadaverous. He's got a zombie-like stare. But of course his catchphrase is, "Gives a job. Go on, gives a job. What are you doing?" "I'm building a wall." "I can do that." "Gives a job. Go on, gives a job. I'll do that. I'll build your wall." He can't do anything now. And he's bashing his head against the brick wall. And when he isn't bashing his head against the brick wall, he's bashing it against someone else's face, because he's famous for the headbutt. Because he can't deal with anything. The headbutt goes in, and it does become funny. It's horrible, it's tragic, it's violent, but it's funny as well. 1 second. And when he can't headbutt something else, he'll headbutt a wall. There's the great sequence where he speaks to the priest. He's having confessional, and he's just like, "I'm desperate, Father." And the priest goes, "Call me Dan." So he goes, "You know what's coming." He goes, "I'm desperate, Dan." And then he realises what he's just said, "Desperate, Dan." So he headbutts the crucifix on the bang, bang. But he headbutts coppers, the social, anyone, you know, who gets in his way. But he still has an affinity with the guys he worked with on the black stuff. So he will follow them round, but they're all kind of like, "Oh God, it's Yosser." But it is so horribly tragic. And when one of the older guy dies, and they have the big funeral and the wake and all that, and he actually gets dressed up for it, and he respected this guy as well, even though he's losing the plot. You're watching a guy literally crumbling into insanity. It's timeless, because you've got so many people with issues similar with austerity and the cost of living crisis and all of this sort of stuff going on, and everyone's got mental illness and it's mental health this, mental health that. You should talk about things. This addressed it way back then, and it's indelible. But famously, they go to the Green Man on Vauxhall Road, the pub that, well, back in the day, it's not there now, and they have the wake for this guy is held in there, and you have another local Liverpool character called Iggy Navarro, who plays Shake Hands. And this is a big, burly, old guy, baldy head. And what he does, shake hands. And whoever you are, you've got to shake his hand. And he crushes your hand. And then he'll buy you a pint afterwards. And there's a gang of scally lads in there who are kicking off and giving it loads. But he comes in And he's like, shake hands. And he gets the first one, and then he's screaming, and the rest are all trying to run around and climb up the wall, trying to get out. And he gets every one of them, hiding under tables. It's just, he gets there, but buys him a pint afterwards, like. And then all the other crew are there, and it's just like, what? It's packed out. You've got this old guy who's whistling. He's whistling songs, and he's just off his box. Just all characters. And then the door opens, and Yosser comes in, and the poor landlord, he's just like, he's been drinking whiskey the whole time. He just can't take any more of it. He wants to just run, because it's just bedlam. And he goes, oh God, no. It's got worse. Another large whiskey. And shake hands goes over to Yosser. He goes, shake hands. And Yosser's just like, puts his hand out, and he starts gripping Yosser's hand. And Yosser's just like, looking at it. And then obviously it gets to a point where, oh, hang on, you are hurting me. But Yosser kind of looks around like that, as if, I'm a bit embarrassed about this. Oh, that's hurting a bit now. Okay. Bang! Fucking butts him. And shake hands just smiles as his nose breaks open, blood pours down. And just collapses. And then after a while, he gets up and goes, buy him a pint. Pint, please. It's outstanding. Bernard Hill had also been in other TV dramas like I, Claudius. He'd been on stage, he played Macbeth. He was a stage actor, a TV actor, and then he made his big break into movies as well. A lot of Liverpool movies, obviously. Things like, oh God, what's it called? Did I write it down? Did I? Shirley Valentine for Willie Russell, which is outstanding, of course. He plays the erroneous, useless, boring husband who doesn't pay any attention to poor Shirley Valentine. Another one as well, what was it? No Surrender. He plays the doorman with the big quiff in No Surrender. And again, he's playing kind of Scouse characters, which is unusual for a guy that's actually from Manchester. But he does it really well. And his face, his voice became iconic. And then the movies beckoned. Bigger movies. Bellman and True, where it's a kidnap drama, and he gets tortured in it as well, but he's fighting to save this lad, and that's a great movie. He played Lennon in A Journey in the Life. He played Lennon as well. So another big Scouse icon. His affinity with Liverpool just seems to just be growing all the time. Madagascar Skin, The Ghost in the Darkness, which you're hearing right now, with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas, about the lions of Savo. Maneless lions. True story. They killed, well, depending on which documents you read and eyewitness accounts you come across, they killed either 100 people or they killed 500 people. But their reign of terror was unbelievable, and it's true. And they were two male lions that worked together to kill humans. And so the big hunter comes in, Remington, played by Michael Douglas, and you've got Val Kilmer is playing a British engineer, an Irish engineer, military engineer, who's got to build a bridge, on the railway track across Savo. But these lions are picking off all the wet crew. So together with Michael Douglas, they've got to hunt the lions down, and they won't both survive, put it that way. But Bernard Hill is in there. He plays the doctor in the ever-moving base camp for this railway line. And it's not a huge role, but he's good in it as well. And he's also in, come on, let's get on to it. For Roger Donaldson in 1984, he did The Bounty with Mel Gibson, Anthony Hopkins, and Daniel Day-Lewis, and Liam Neeson as well. A lot of names were in this one, and no Tash, which I remember when The Bounty first came out, I knew Bernard Hill from Boys From The Blackstuff and The Blackstuff, and that Tash was always there. And then to see him without the Tash was like, what? And his hair was longer and curlier, and he plays he plays William Cole, who was the Master's mate. Now he's one of the guys that he remains faithful and loyal to Captain Bligh when the mutiny takes place. He's set adrift with Captain Bligh as well. But he's a great stalwart character in this. He's memorable. There's a great sequence where the ship's doctor, Dr. Huggins, Dr. Huggins, something like that. But he's a pisshead as well, and he's useless. And they're on Tahiti, and they find him just washed up on the ship because he's obviously got himself pissed one night and drowned or just killed himself with alcohol abuse and alcoholic poisoning. And Captain Bligh thinks, right, bury him. And the other guy, the first mate, goes, Mr. Cole, would you deal with that? And that's to Bennett Hill. He just goes, but it speaks volumes. There's just without even saying a word, he just goes, but you feel it, I've got to do this. You're joking, aren't you? But when they get set adrift, they encounter the islanders of Fiji, who were not so friendly as the people of Tahiti. And they go ashore, and Captain Bligh's writing in his journal, and these natives are getting restless. Restless natives! He was in that as well. Sure he was. Restless natives. Could be wrong about that now. Now I've said it out loud. And but the natives are getting a bit agitated, and they want to eat these white buggers. And right, Mr. Cole, let's get the chest and the journal and let's go back. They've only got a little tiny boat, a little long boat. That's all they've got. Let's go back out. And one of their guys, he goes, don't worry, Captain Bligh, I'll save you. And he's waving a cutlass around, and he gets clubbed on the back of the head with something I've just noticed very akin to this. And he's lying there in the surf going, oh no! And then bang, and it smashed his head apart. Oh God. But Bennett Hill is like, I'm coming aboard! And he's running through the surf. Hold the boat, boys, I'm coming aboard! He would learn something else about boats, or much bigger boats, a great big ship in fact, because he would play the captain of the Titanic for James Cameron with Titanic there. And he was great. What was it? Captain Edward John Smith, who in the film, he goes down with the ship, he goes back on the bridge, and the windows all break through when the water cascades in. And he's kind of dodged these waves, but he's swept away, drowned. Now, in reality, there's two schools of thought on this. A lot of people say he did, I'm staying with the ship, I'm going down with the ship, simple as. Go on, ta-da, save yourselves. If you need me, I'll be on the bridge, gulping water. But some people say that, no, he did get off the boat, and he did freeze to death in the water afterwards. So I don't know. But he plays that role with sort of grandfatherly compassion, wisdom, and again, it's a different slant to his often quite brusque sort of characterizations of rough and ready sort of chaps who can handle themselves. And he nice big white beard on him and all his naval attire, and he's genuinely a likeable guy. And whether you like Titanic or you don't, I think it's a great, once the action kicks in, it's difficult to beat. The stunts are amazing, the visuals are incredible. James Horner's score is outstanding. Let's hear a bit of that, shall we? You probably hear a lot of anvils getting clanged because James Horner liked to clang some anvils. And but he's great in that. So a lot of Americans know him from obviously Titanic, maybe Ghost in the Darkness. Boys From The Blackstuff is the thing they need to discover for themselves. But of course, King Theoden, the ruler of the horse lords of Rohan, the riders of Rohan, in The Two Towers and Return of the King, and he's outstanding. Of course, when you first meet him, he's bewitched, Grima Wormtongue, Brad Dourif, the secret agent, the spy for Saruman, has worked his evil magic on him and has been poisoning him and drip feeding his mind with sickness and illness, and you're useless, but I still love you, sire. But Gandalf will break that spell, and of course Theoden rises to glory again. The Battle of Helm's Deep, you know, and they're surrounded by, well, they're not surrounded because the Helm's Deep is just the boxes off a canyon and they've got the caves behind there, but the Uruk-hai are all across the front. Big bastards as well. And that battle is outstanding, of course, Helm's Deep. But Gandalf isn't there. Was it look for me at dawn on the third day? And they think it's all over, basically. Everyone's been depleted. Even the elves have been massacred as well. Like, so there's only a handful of them left. And like Aragorn goes, yeah, remembers the words, look for me at dawn on the third day. And like light is beginning to shine through the windows of the keep. And he just says to Theoden, ride out and meet them. And like, Theoden's Bernard Hill, and like, what? There's millions of them out there! Are you insane, man? But he gets his armour, and they get the horses on, and they charge out. And they're slicing Uruk-hai heads off left, right and centre. And of course, there, on the hilltop, on the ridge, right up when the sun is coming up, you've got Gandalf and the Riders of Rohan, and gloriously they sweep down, and it's bedlam. And in the full version, of course, the Uruk-hai survivors run away into that mysterious forest which suddenly arrived, which wasn't there before. Because it's the Ents! The Ents have been waiting for them. The Ents have gone to war, and they get them all. And it's fantastic. In fact, we need to... Where is the horse and rider? This is like Theoden's speech. Basically about like, cometh the hour, cometh the man. You know, there's a lot of rhetoric and stuff like that in what Tolkien wrote. And of course Peter Jackson's version puts it all in there as well. But it's people like Bernard Hill who gives it weight. Some of these sort of old folkloric and medieval type lines of dialogue, it takes a special calibre of someone to make that relevant to a lot of younger audiences now. And well, I say younger audiences, the people who grew up on these movies are now older people as well now. But the dialogue is great and he makes it count. There's a well-weary wisdom and almost a rekindled, renewed vigour for life and hope. And of course, especially the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, Return of the King, where he will come a cropper, but once again he will rally the troops for another much bigger charge this time. A red day, a sword day, you know. And he charges down the ranks and he's hitting all their swords and shields with his own sword. He's here now. It's little Bernard Hill. I'll tell you what, I'd love a Yosser figure. There he is. And there's another incarnation of him here, looking nice and noble with his windswept hair. Eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that his hand's missing. Yes, not quite sure what happened to that. But Eowyn will try to save him, and Eowyn will kill the Witch King who's there, Miranda Otto, and she takes the helmet off like, I am no man, and stabs the Witch King right in his faceless visor. And he goes and disappears into like a vortex of crunched up metal and leather. And but then as he's dying, he sees her. And he goes, I know your face. Cheers, John. Isn't it funny? I don't know these people, but I always get emotional about these things. But let's get to so Theoden rides forth. I mean, it is latter years, and don't forget, this is the early 2000s when these movies came out. So you're talking almost 20 years, well, you are talking 20 years ago. And these are kind of what he's now mostly remembered for by the vast majority of people worldwide. And yet he'd done so much else. But you know, to have the likes of King Theoden on your resume. So I said before, like you don't get Sean Bean at these things. You don't get Viggo Mortensen. Brad Dourif does these things, like, and a lot of others do them, but I don't think that Bennett Hill had actually done any conventions. I could be wrong about that, but it would have been amazing to have met him as well, because for the likes of me, and even my son has seen all the Boys From The Blackstuff and the original Blackstuff and loved it, and he has no comprehension of that era at all. But the drama and the acting, the story, you know, really resonated. So he knows the calibre of this guy, but Lord of the Rings is his favourite movie of all time, his favourites, those 3 films of all time. So it was like, it literally was a pilgrimage to go and meet the Hobbits, and then Legolas. But to met this, and he was meant to be there as well. And so was Miranda Otto, but she cancelled for, well, different reasons. Andy Serkis had been there on the Saturday, done signings, done a talk, and he stayed beyond. He stayed later than anybody else to make sure that everyone in the queue got to meet him. That's good, that. This music is phenomenal. Howard Shore's score. And I know I've discussed Lord of the Rings many times before, and the music as well, but how Howard Shore went from scoring the minimalist, bleak, very expressionistic scores for David Cronenberg, and then went to this full, grandiose, symphonic might, this operatic bombast. How he went from that, no one could ever have foreseen that. Well, obviously Peter Jackson saw it. Listen to this. And he's there. Bennett Hill leading the charge. There is an awkward moment in the Two Towers involving Bennett Hill, which it's not his fault, but it makes me laugh every time I see it. Well, there's two moments, in fact. One of them, well, I'll do it in reverse order then, because the one that really makes me laugh every time, the Berserker Orokai the sapper manages to get into the Deeping Wall. He's got explosives, and they put the explosives in there, and he's carrying that torch, and then Aragorn's Legolas, stricken down Legolas, arrows are going in, and this guy, he just goes, and does a massive leap, and the wall just goes boom, 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 boom. The Deeping Wall, and huge big chunks of masonry go flying out and crushing Orokai beneath them. The elves have been decimated, and but it cuts to a shot of King Theoden, and you can tell that obviously that's a big special effect. And Peter Jackson's just gone to Bennett Hill. Right, Bennett, look shocked. Just look shocked. And you just get like boom, 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 and then it cut to a quick close up of Theoden just going like, perfect, Bennett, perfect. You nailed it there. It just, that is not the reaction to what you've just seen. He's just like that. You could have put that after any other sequence except that one. But I'm not blaming Bernard for that. And the other one is you've had Aragorn's outside on the drawbridge on the big stone path leading up to the gates, and him and Gimli are fighting Orokai out there, smashing them all over the place like that. But the gate's been breached, and Theoden's ordering his men to block up the wreckage of the gate. And you just see him lean out, and he goes, Aragorn, get out of there! And then next thing, they seal it up. It's like, Aragorn, get out of there! And then they lock them out. Yeah, I know, there's a little doorway there. And Aragorn goes up the side, doesn't he, on a rope. But again, it's another little like insert of Bernard Hill. But far from like being me mocking that, I enjoy it because of that. In moments of high strife and intensity, he's able, probably inadvertently and unwittingly, he's able to lighten the tone a little bit, just with an expression. And Aragorn, get out of there! Like, lock them out! And there's also a shot there where they're bringing up huge big planks of wood to bolster the door and smash them in, big massive nails and stuff like that. And he's going like, yeah, King Theoden, we know where to put them. It's kind of obvious, isn't it? He's genius then. And he does break the heart as well. And his transformation from, he's wizened and old and he's dead, decrepit. And then once Grimer and his evil gets usurped and he begins to transform, grow younger, his hair gets more luster to it, his skin gets better, and it's great. And he's not croaky anymore. He becomes the king he was meant to be, always was beforehand. Outstanding. Bernard Hill. It is such a shame, because of all the days, it's never going to be good, is it? As I said before, these people I pay tribute to, I don't know them. I've not, well, I usually haven't met them. I'm not a personal friend of theirs, but their passing really leaves a mark, because I've grown up with this guy and I've seen so many things he's done, and so many of them have really been pivotal in, once you understand, the power of someone's acting abilities, their creation of a character, their injecting life and blood and soul into it. Whether you like the character or you don't, but if they've made that character live and breathe, that's worth its weight in gold, isn't it? And even in lesser roles, just supporting roles, Bernard Hill was able to imbue those characters with life. And now he's gone. And of course, what a day for that to have happened. So, again, I don't know if he cancelled because he was ill. The story that I'd heard was that his fiancée, not his wife, he wasn't married to her anymore, but his fiancée was ill, and that's why he cancelled. And if that's the case, and I don't know that for a fact, if that's the case, there's such a huge, horrible irony to that. His last role was in, again, another Scouse drama with Martin Freeman, who was in the Hobbit, of course, called The Responder, but Merseyside police drama. And accents-wise, Martin Freeman has possibly the best and most convincing Scouse accent that I've ever heard, and on someone who isn't actually Scouse. And Bernard Hill is in the second season, and that aired the night that he died. The news broke that he died. So his legacy was actually aired on the day that he died. There's just so many, I don't know, horrible connections. It's just weird how things work out like that. But Bernard Hill, Yosser Theoden, you were king. King of the hill. That's what you were. You couldn't build a wall, but I'd still give you the job. Get a job. Go on, get it. Get a job. I can do that. I can do that. And also the great former Liverpool football player, Graham Souness, Big Tash. He has a cameo in Boys From The Blackstuff. And Yosser says to him, he bumps it, he gate crashes it, actually, a big charity do, where Graham Souness is there. And he's standing by him, he's going, you look like me. You look like me, you do. You look like me. And Graham Souness is just like, no, he's no actor. He's just like, yeah, all right, yeah. I gave him a Scouse accent. Graham Souness is Scottish, for God's sake. But Boys From The Blackstuff, if you haven't seen it, and I urge you to do it, it will tear you apart. It will. but there's so much joy, and you'll be dragged into this hellish drama, but you'll be sucked in and you'll enjoy every moment of it. The dialogue is so clever, and how even the worst of situations and scenarios, well, with Bleasedale's writing, can be twisted, because there's humour in everything. There's always humour. You can look at things with the bleakest of outlooks, but someone else will just come out with a bit of gallows humour. Nothing's ever funnier than a funeral. And you don't even want to laugh, but something will happen and you're trying not to laugh. A lot of it's nervous laugh, but it happens at the worst possible times. Bleasedale manages to capture that sort of essence of, this is not really funny, but do you know what? That's tickled me, that has. And none so more than Yosser Hughes himself, who just epitomises the Chaplin-esque sense of tragedy and sort of, almost a circus carnival act of depraved depression, but also just a bumbling idiot at the same time. So you can't help but be drawn to people like that. But without Bernard Hill, you would never have got that character. Nobody else could have played that character. No one. It's gone really dark in here, hasn't it? This is the pitfalls of doing these videos in front of these big windows, when the sun gets obscured. When the sun's out, it's too bright. When the sun gets obscured, it's too bloody dark. Like what I've just been saying. Boys From Blackstuff, you've got the light and the dark. See? Connections, folks. Lord of the Rings, the light and the dark. It's all there. Bernard Hill, a true gent and an incredible, irreplaceable talent. Oh, here we are. Oh, we're doing it again. The Battle of the Pelennor Fields. He's going to rouse and rally the troops for that final battle. If you're going to ride to your death, you want this playing, don't you? You want something like this. But it's his speech as well, like, and he rides down the ranks, clocking all the shields and the swords, and then the camera rises up and the massive army done by the computer program, massive. So there's probably about 40-50 people there, magnified into 6,000, and the camera rises up and the sun glints across all of them. And then they all charge, and you've got Miranda Otto as Eowyn is there as well, but she's hiding, as trying to be a man. And she's got Merry on the horse with her, Dominic Monaghan. And all the hobbits, oh god, they could go on all day. They are all magnificent. And we met them. They're all here. And there's me in my elven cloak as well. The Rohan theme. Listen now when it hits the sweet spot. And all the orcs are like, folks, I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, and if ever, doff your cap, raise a glass, say a prayer for Bernard Hill in between time. Please Keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. The ride with the Rohan. I'm going to see you all. Raiders! Maybe in the Grey Havens.